Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dirayet Ashtaprayeshu Abhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir.
Prabhu, you have muted yourself.
Canto 4, Chapter 22, Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the four Kumaras, text number 11 onwards. So we were discussing how Prithu Maharaj received four Kumaras and the glory of reception of guests, especially the Brahmins or Vaishnava guests. But this, most of us have had great experience, really great experience in Barsana. They would hardly have anything in their house. Hardly. There's no furniture. Maybe a couple of cots are there and nothing else in the house. But whenever, howsoever many devotees who would go, they would gladly welcome us and give us some roti to eat, some chas to drink, always, no matter what time we went. In fact, there was once when Mataji was visiting from USA, and she went with us. And while coming down the stairs from Barsana temple, then we said we'll stop at some houses and do madhukari and get some roti. And Mataji said, it's almost evening time, and how do you know they would have roti for you? I said, Mataji, they always make extra rotis because people are asking for food. They come every time. And she was surprised. She was surprised. How is it possible? And we were about 10, 15 people. And we got plenty of rotis. She said, how come they know that we are going to come and they make rotis for us? I said, they make extra rotis. And if it is not used, then they either eat it in the morning or they give it to the cow. But they always make extra rotis. It's not like opulent homes in Delhi or America. You don't make anything extra. That is a real hospitality, taking care of the guests. So I guess it's only left in the villages, not in the cities anymore. Anyway, text 11. Vyalalya dhrumavai nesha teshva virakta khila sampada yad grihas tirtha padiya pada tirtha vivarjitaha. On the contrary, even though full of all opulence and material prosperity, any householder's house where the devotees of the Lord are never allowed to come in, or where there is no water for washing their feet, is to be considered a tree in which all the venomous serpents live. In this verse, the word Tirtha Padiya indicates devotees of Lord Vishnu or Vaishnavas. As far as Brahmins are concerned, in the previous verse, the mode of reception has been already described. Now, in this verse, a special stress is being given to the Vaishnavas. Generally, the sannyasis, or those in the renounced order of life, take trouble to enlighten the householders. There are Ekdandi sannyasis and Tridandi sannyasis. The Ekdandi sannyasis are generally followers of Shankaracharya and are known as Mayavadi sannyasis, whereas the Tridandi sannyasis are followers of Vaishnavacharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, and so on. And they take trouble to enlighten the householders. Ekdandi sannyasis can be situated on the platform of pure Brahman because they are aware that the spirit soul is different from the body, but they're mainly impersonalists. Impersonalists means they believe we all are God. Basically, this is a basic philosophy. The Vaishnavas know that the absolute truth is a supreme person and that the Brahman effulgence is based on the supreme personality of Godhead, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Brahmno hi pratishthamaham. The conclusion is that the Tirtha Padya refers to Vaishnavas. So Tirtha Padya, here Prabhupada is describing, it's not referring to Brahmins or Ekdandi sannyasis. It's only referring to Vaishnavas. Why? Tirtha Padya means the lotus feet, the people or transcendentalists who cling on to the lotus feet of the Lord. Now, the Ekdandi sannyasis or Mayavad sannyasis, they don't even believe in the form of the Lord or personality of the Lord. So how can they cling on to or hang on to the lotus feet of the Lord or take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord? So only the Vaishnava sannyasis or Vaishnavas can do that. In the Bhagavatam, there is also another reference, Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani. Wherever he goes, a Vaishnava immediately makes that place a tirtha, a place of pilgrimage. The Vaishnava sannyasis travel all over the world to make every place a place of pilgrimage by the touch of the lotus feet. It is mentioned here that any house which does not receive a Vaishnava in the manner already explained in the previous verse is to be considered the residential quarters of venomous serpents. Residential quarters of venomous serpents. Why? It is said that around the sandalwood tree, which is a very valuable tree, there is a venomous serpent. Sandalwood is very cold, and venomous serpents, because of their poisonous teeth, are always very warm, and they take shelter of the sandalwood trees to become cooler. Similarly, there are many rich men who keep watchdogs or doormen and put up signs that say, "Do not enter, trespassers not allowed, beware of the dog," etc. Sometimes in the Western countries, a trespasser is shot, and there is no crime in such shooting. This is the position of demoniac householders, and such houses are considered to be the residential quarters of venomous snakes. So they are compared to venomous snakes because they wrap themselves around these sandalwood trees to cool down their bodies. So the people who don't invite Vaishnavas or serve them, so they are basically hanging on to their opulent homes. And it's as good as a snake hanging on a sandalwood tree because the snake would not let you cut that sandalwood tree. And similarly, these opulent householders who don't invite, don't welcome, don't serve, Vaishnavas are just like that. The members of such families are no better than snakes because snakes are very much envious. And when that envy is directed to the saintly persons, their position becomes more dangerous. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that there are two envious living entities, the snake and the envious man. The envious man is more dangerous than a snake because a snake can be subdued by charming mantras or by some herbs, but an envious person cannot be pacified by any means. So envious persons, they are even dangerous than snakes. Because snakes can be charmed by some mantras or by some herbs. But not the envious person, envious men. Very, very dangerous. They might sound like, oh, they are very friendly, but inside, in their heart, so much of envy is there. And they will not think twice before pulling the leg or before stabbing in the back. So, nevertheless, it's always very, very important to serve the guests. And that is why scriptures, Vedic scriptures say, Atithi Devo Bhava. And it's called Atithi. Atithi means who has no date of coming or leaving the house. Nowadays, everything has changed. Everything. Because if we want to go to somebody's house, first we have to call them and find out if they are there, they are busy, or we can come. Or we have to make a schedule, and then also they have to know when we're going to leave. No more Atithi. But when we were young, when we were little, I remember the guests would come, just come. There was no phones, there were no, and even if you send a letter, it will take forever to reach that place. And guests would just show up. That's it. And it used to be fun. And there were little homes, and we would just adjust. Everybody would adjust. But now every member in the house has to have his or her own room, and they're not ready to adjust. Even if the guests come, informing them, still, it's difficult. It's different, very, very different now. Swagatam vo dvijashreshta yad vritani mumukshavaha charanti shraddhaya dhira bala eva brihanti cha. Maharaj Prithu offered his welcome to the four Kumaras, addressing them as the best of the Brahmins. He welcomed them, saying, from the beginning of your birth, you strictly observed the vows of celibacy, and although you are experienced in the path of liberation, you are keeping yourselves just like small children. The specific importance of the Kumaras is that they were brahmacharis, living the life of celibacy from birth. They kept themselves as small children, about 4 or 5 years old, because by growing into youth, one's senses sometimes become disturbed and celibacy becomes difficult. The Kumaras therefore purposefully remained children because in a child's life the senses are never disturbed by sex. This is the significance of the life of the Kumaras, and as such, Maharaj Prithu addressed them as the best of the Brahmins. Not only were the Kumaras born of the best Brahman, Lord Brahma, but they are addressed herein as Dvijashrestha, the best of the Brahmins, on account of their being Vaishnavas also. As we have already explained, they have their Sampradaya, disciplic succession, and even to date, the Sampradaya is being maintained as and is known as Nimbarka Sampradaya, because their main Acharya is Nimbarka Acharya. Out of the 4 Sampradayas of the Vaishnava Acharyas, the Nimbarka Sampradaya is one. Maharaj Prithu specifically appreciated the position of the Kumaras because they maintained the Brahmacharya vow from the very beginning of their birth. Maharaj Prithu, however, expressed his great appreciation of Vaishnavism by addressing the Kumaras as Vaishnav Shrestha also. He said Dvijashrestha and Vaishnav Shrestha. In other words, everyone should offer respect to a Vaishnava without considering his source of birth. Vaishnava Jati Buddhi. No one should consider a Vaishnava in terms of birth. The Vaishnava is always the best of the Brahmins, and as such, one should offer all respects to a Vaishnava, not only as a Brahman, but as the best of the Brahmins. So Maharaj Prithu was empowered incarnation of the Lord, and he is paying obeisances to 4 Kumaras, considering their Brahmins, best of the Brahmins, Dvijashrestha, and the Vaishnava Shrestha also, best of the Vaishnavas. Kachina kushalam natha indriyarthartha vedinam Vyasanavapa etasmin patitanam swakarmabhi. Prithu Maharaj inquired from the sages about persons entangled in this dangerous material existence because of their previous actions. Could such persons whose only aim is sense gratification be blessed with any good fortune? Maharaj Prithu did not ask the Kumaras about their good fortune, for the Kumaras are always auspicious by dint of their life in celibacy. Since they are always engaged on the path of liberation, there was no question of ill fortune. In other words, Brahmins and Vaishnavas who are strictly following the path of spiritual advancement are always fortunate. The question was asked by Prithu Maharaj for his own sake, since he was in the position of a grihastha and in charge of the royal authority. Kings are not only grihasthas who are generally absorbed in sense gratification, but are sometimes employed to kill animals in hunting because they have to practice the killing art. Otherwise, it's very difficult for them to fight their enemies. Such things are not auspicious. So, kings or kshatriyas are absorbed in so many things: sense gratification, royal authority, so much of money to deal with, and the killing of innocent animals, not for eating, but for they have to practice the art of killing. For political reasons, sometimes they have to take to these sinful activities. Oh, four kinds of sinful activities: associating with women for illicit sex, eating meat, intoxication, and gambling are allowed for the Kshatriyas. For political reasons, sometimes they have to take to these sinful activities. Kshatriyas do not refrain from gambling. One vivid example is the Pandavas. When the Pandavas were challenged by the opposite party, Duryodhan, to gamble and risk their kingdom, they could not refrain, and by that gambling they lost their kingdom, and their wife was insulted. Similarly, the Kshatriyas cannot refrain from fighting if challenged by the opposite party. In fact, this gambling part, even Balramji was asked to get into game of gambling by Rukmi, the brother of Rukmini. And actually, it was the marriage function of Krishna's son and was Rukmini's son and Rukmi's daughter. Although it was a marriage function, but they invited Balramji for the game of dice. And then they cheated. Balramji got angry and he basically killed them. He broke the teeth of one person. He was showing his teeth and laughing at Balramji. Balramji killed Rukmi and broke the teeth of this person and broke the hands and legs of so many others. But that is Kshatriya. They get into all this. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj, taking consideration of all these facts, inquired whether there is any auspicious path. Grihastha life is inauspicious because Grihastha means consciousness for sense gratification. And as soon as there is sense gratification, one's position is always full of dangers. This material world is said to be padam padam yat vipadam natesham, dangerous at every step. Everyone in this material world is struggling hard for sense gratification. Clearing all these points, Maharaj Prithu inquired from the four Kumaras about the fallen conditioned souls who are rotting in this material world due to their past bad or inauspicious activities. Is there any possibility for their auspicious spiritual life? In this verse, the word Indriyarthartha Vedinam is very significant. It indicates persons whose only aim is to satisfy the senses. They are also described as patitanam or fallen. Only one who stops all activities for sense gratification is considered to be elevated. Another significant word is for karma bhi. One becomes fallen by the dint of his own past activities. Everyone is responsible for his fallen condition because of his own activities. When activities are changed to devotional service, one's auspicious life begins. So Prithu Maharaj is asking for a question for Grihasthas, for Kshatriyas, for the fallen, for the people who are too much engaged in sense gratification, how they can be liberated. Knowing the position of Prithu Maharaj, just like Arjuna asked these questions in Bhagavad Gita, they were not for him. So Prithu Maharaj is not actually asking questions for himself. He's asking them for all of us. He is beyond all this. He has already had darshan of Lord Vishnu. And here it is said, Grihastha life is inauspicious because Grihastha means consciousness for sense gratification. But at the same time, it could be, if it is Grihastha ashram, it's great. But if it is Grihi Medhi, that's where the problem is. But in this life, yes, there are chances of sense gratification, there are means, but at the same time, just like we studied at Karta Muni and Mother Devahuti's story, it was explained how a wife helps the husband to make progress on the path of spirituality by guarding his senses. So that way, wives are very helpful actually. Yes, every ashram is full of dangers. Even Brahmachari ashram is also. There is no means, but mind is so tricky. Mind can create hellish situation for anybody. And then the senses follow that mind. So that's why Maharaj Prithu is asking, how can conditioned grihasthas, they can make advancement. Bhavatsu kushal prashna atma rameshu naishyate kushala yatra na santi mati vrityaha. Prithu Maharaj continued, my dear sirs, there is no need to ask about your good and bad fortune because you are always absorbed in spiritual bliss. The mental concoction of auspicious and inauspicious does not exist in you. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is said, Dvaite bhadra jnana sab manodharma. Ei bhala, ei manda, ei sab brahma. In this material world, the auspicious and inauspicious are simply mental concoctions because such things exist only due to association with the material world. This is called illusion or Atma Maya. We think ourselves created by material nature exactly as we think ourselves experiencing so many things in a dream. Spirit soul is, however, transcendental. There is no question of becoming materially covered. This covering is simply something like a hallucination or a dream. In Bhagavad Gita it is also said, Sangat sanjayate kama. Simply by association, we create artificial material necessities. When we forget our real constitutional position and wish to enjoy the material resources, our material desires manifest, and we associate with varieties of material enjoyment. As soon as the concoctions of material enjoyment are there, because of our association, we create a sort of lust or eagerness to enjoy them. And when that false enjoyment does not actually make us happy, we create another illusion known as anger. And by the manifestation of anger, the illusion becomes stronger. When we are illusioned in this way, forgetfulness of our relationship with Krishna follows. And by thus losing Krishna consciousness, our real intelligence is defeated. In this way, we become entangled in the material world. The material world, Prabhupada explains nicely that it's all illusion. Everything that we create, that we think, oh, okay, I have desire. Suppose I have a desire to enjoy a big, nice, fancy home. Now, the fancy home is basically made of these ingredients. And I go in there and I buy that place and I think I'm enjoying, but what is there to enjoy? Not the earth, water, fire, air, ether. What is there to enjoy? Again, we'll try to enjoy our senses in that fancy home, thinking I'm the proprietor, I'm the owner, I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer of this home. And when that enjoyment does not actually make us happy, then we become angry. It's just like we have given example of acting in a movie. They're all fake. Stories, fake sets, everything is fake, but it looks so real when we watch it. And we think this is the truth, whatever is happening. When there's nothing true in that. They all are acting. It looks so real when it is on the screen. So same thing is us. Our life, when we put it on the screen, we think it is so real. Nothing reality in this. By material association, we lose our spiritual consciousness. Consequently, there is a quotient of auspicious and inauspicious. But those who are Atmaram or self-realized have transcended such quotients. The Atmaramas or the self-realized persons, gradually making further progress in spiritual bliss, come to the platform of association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the perfection of life. In the beginning, the Kumaras were self-realized impersonalists, but gradually they became attracted to the personal pastimes of the Lord. Conclusion is that for those who are always engaged in devotional service of the Personality of Godhead, the duality of auspicious and inauspicious does not arise. Prithu Maharaj is therefore asking about auspiciousness, not for the sake of Kumaras, but for his own sake. So for transcendentalists, everything is auspicious actually. Everything is Mangal. So Mangalam, because everything, if it is favorable for the devotional service, it's nice. If it is not, then they stay away from it. But they still see Krishna in everything. So inauspicious, so-called inauspicious, make them more strong to connect in bhakti. Just like this coronavirus, this pandemic seen right now. For devotees, it's always auspicious. They say, I have more time to do chanting and do reading, and I just have more time. I don't have to go to work every day. I'm saving time, the driving time, and the time I would have been wasting otherwise. And so many other things. I can spend more time. So-called auspicious and inauspicious is for materially minded people. And for them, actually, everything is inauspicious. Why? If something nice is happening, then they get more entangled. And if something not nice or something against their desires is happening, they become angry. Not just angry, they can become depressed, like this pandemic. So many suicides have happened. The government is not releasing the data, but we know so many suicides have happened because people cannot cope up with the situation that they cannot get out of the house. And of course, they lost the jobs, lost sources of income, and moreover, they're stuck in the house. So people are getting depressed. So for that, in that way, everything is inauspicious. For devotees, everything is auspicious. Okay, so we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, so you all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Huh?